Hi, I'm Jeff Goulding and I'm a Liverpool author.
And I'm Kieran Smith, the Liverpool historian.
Together, we've been working on a great new project, which is a book out later this year entitled The Untouchables, Anfield's Band of Brothers.
It's a great story about one of the greatest sides in Liverpool's history who won back-to-back titles in the 1920s.
Yeah, this is a team that is absolutely packed with incredible characters. Men who fought on the battlefields of Europe in the First World War and returned home to claim 2 league titles in a row.
And it's due for release in the UK in September. And thanks to our friendship now with the Liverpool Connection podcast, it's also going to be made available through them in the United States at the same time.
Welcome to a very special Liverpool Connection podcast today, as it is our 1-year anniversary. I can't believe we've made it a whole year. Yay! Fireworks. Myself, Steve and Nikki would like to thank everyone that has tuned in and subscribed this year. Today, I couldn't be more happier, and it's a privilege and an honour to have this man come on. He is former Liverpool and Republic of Ireland international, Mr. Ronnie Whelan.
Good afternoon, good morning, how is everyone?
Good. Absolutely fantastic to have you on. Got lots of things to ask you, and I'm sure hopefully you've got some great stories to tell me and Steve and the listeners.
I'll answer all your questions, Daz, but I'm not going to say the truth.
Maybe we'll play Truth or Dare then.
Yeah.
Let's get started. I mean, when did you start playing football? Or when?
I was a baby, Dad. But my dad was a League of Ireland footballer. Got a couple of caps for the Republic of Ireland in the early 60s. So I was just brought up into a football atmosphere all the time. I used to go with my younger brother Paul. We used to go on the back of the team bus when he played League of Ireland. I was taking the whole thing in all the time, the smells, the laughter, then the match, then coming back, either the disappointment or the joy of coming back after a match. I was picking that up for years. So I was playing my dad brought me to a very, very legendary sort of schoolboy outfit in Dublin called Home Farm. I was there from when I was about 6 years of age, playing little games. Then progressed, went into the first team at Home Farm when I was 16, and then Liverpool came knocking early 79, mid 79.
Well, a little bird told me you actually trained with Man United, right? As a trainee.
I was at Man United for every school holiday for probably 2 or 3 years. I was a Man U fan. Going back as a kid, 60s, George Best. That's where you're gonna be a supporter of George Best. Although he's from the north of Ireland, he was Irish to me, and I wanted to, in his footsteps, go to Manchester United. And I was asked to go when I was 13 or 14. I think the first time I went. Had a trial for 2 weeks. Then they invited me back over for another 2 weeks. They offered me an apprenticeship at 15. My dad didn't bar me from going or ban me from going. He said it would be better if you didn't go and you finished school. I was really, really disappointed. I wanted to go at 15. But in hindsight, probably the greatest thing that my dad had ever done for me was not letting me go at 15. Too young.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't really come back shouting when I was 17, 18, Man United. And that's when I had a call from Liverpool to go and do a couple of weeks training. And then from there, Liverpool offered me a 3-year contract, which was great when I was 18.
Yeah, when you just turned 18, right?
Yes, I was over there just before my 18th birthday. They said they wanted to sign me. I went back to Dublin. They said, go back to Dublin, get yourself sorted out, whatever you've got to do. Have a couple of weeks back in Dublin, say goodbye to everyone, and then come over and get yourself going. Obviously, wasn't great when I came back. You're coming back early October, mid-October. I hadn't done a pre-season to the standard they would do it. So I was getting in the A team, maybe a game in the reserves, back into the A team. So I was flitting about till the start of the next season when I got stronger, I got fitter in pre-season. I started to learn what it was like to be a professional footballer. Found it difficult, homesickness. Mm-hmm. Training was difficult every day. I'd never done that in my life. So bed in the afternoon became a big routine. And then, as I say, I got stronger, got better, and then started to work my way up.
When was the first time you actually met Bob?
Believe it or not, Bob picked me up the second time, I think it was. It would have been the second time. When I came to sign, Bob came to pick me up from the airport, and I couldn't believe it. Me and my dad walked into the airport. We were told we would be picked up by someone. And then when we walked through, Bob Paisley was sitting there in his long green cardigan down to his knees. And then didn't have a frigging clue what he said, and then have never understood him since. He was all arms from that one and that one. So yeah, buddy, great manager.
Steve.
Hey, good morning, Ronnie. Good to see you again. Yeah, for those that don't know, we had the opportunity to bring Ronnie to Austin as part of one of our Legends Nights, and it was a great experience. That whole weekend was fun. I got to play some golf with you, so I always appreciate catching back up with you, and you're looking great and sounding.
You forgot about the beers.
Great. Yeah, I'm surprised you survived the weekend. We had a couple. we had a couple pints.
Yeah, I'm Irish.
We had a couple pints, that's for sure, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite memories of that weekend when you came is that after we played golf, we went back to the clubhouse. We're just sitting there having a couple of pints, and then somebody just random in the middle of Texas at a golf course comes up to you and says, "Are you Ronnie Whelan?" And then you guys, and that gentleman happened to be from Ireland and a huge footy fan, and you guys started talking, and he's like, "I remember you scoring this goal," and I was just sitting there just amazed just how small the world is,
Yes, yeah, it is amazing. Actually, I remember talking about the smallness of the world. I remember Stevie Highway saying they're getting players in from everywhere now into the academy, and he went, the world is a very small place now. We're getting on planes and things like that. It doesn't take you long to get anywhere.
Yeah. Now, I know you already touched about being signed by Paisley, after he's taken over from the great Bill Shankly. That had to have been quite the feeling and have an honor to be, being viewed by Liverpool as worthy enough to come to that team, because obviously it was just starting to be, part of that dynasty.
Steve, I looked around at the team, and although it was Man United, would have been my first choice at that age as well. I looked around the team and I went, I'll never get a game. Mm-hmm. But my dad was saying to me, well, at least you're starting from the top. And if it doesn't work out at Liverpool, we can get somewhere a little bit lower down and we'll see where it goes. And I thought, well, yeah, might as well. We'll give that a go. I'll start at the best club who are winning everything. And who knows, I may get in. If not, as he said, I had options to go back. My family was still in Dublin. I could have gone back there. But fortunate enough, I stuck at it. And then the next thing, you're walking into a dressing room and then you've got Dalglish, Souness, Ray Clements, Phil Neal, Jimmy Case, Ray Kennedy. They were still around, Davy Jono. It was an honour, but a pretty scary thing walking in and seeing them.
Yeah, as a young player, and then first year you didn't really feature a lot, but then the second year, and you started featuring and then taking over really Ray Kennedy's spot, right? And so how did the rest of the team, how they view, here comes this young guy, he's taking over one of our mainstays of our team that's been greatly successful the past few years. So was there any animosity there, or they're just saying, hey, we want to just keep kicking it on?
There's never any animosity. The older lads, the likes of Kenny and Suey and all that, it was funny when you got into the first team squad. If they were giving you stick, if they were taking the mickey out of you, if they were laughing at you, if they were joking with you, you had a chance. Mm-hmm. If they didn't speak to you, then you sort of knew well, yeah, they don't really believe I'm good enough. But as I came into the team, I was with Rushy. So two of us were 18, 19. We had been fairly matey in the reserves. Now we were rooming together, going away with all the big lads. We would go to a room like two kids, hoping we were going to play the next day. But they took the mickey out of Rushy relentlessly. But it was better. Rushy always thought they were against them, and you're trying to say, well, they're not. They just were having a laugh or mess. He struggled a little bit, Rushy, at the start. And then it all became, you get a few games under your belt. He's scoring goals. I'm scoring goals from left midfield. The two of us are kids in a candy store every day. It's brilliant for us. We don't have to always be there next to Rushy or next to Kenny or next to whoever, Suey. We had our own little group. But the first team lads start to respect you then. They see what you're doing. And then it's the time for learning. Now, if you're doing things wrong, now they're going to be on your back about what you're doing wrong. But I always went back to, as long as they're speaking to you, you must be doing okay.
Yeah, it would imagine, especially during that time, the substitution patterns were pretty tight. You weren't getting a game unless, there was a need for it. So I imagine that once you got into that starting lineup, you're like, okay, let's make sure this is the right position now.
We used to have a meeting every Friday morning at Melwood, and we'd sit around the table at Melwood before Bob would come in to do his team talk. Kenny Dalglish had superstition that we had to have chocolate McVitie's every Friday morning with a cup of tea before training, so we'd all have our biscuits. And then nowadays you'd all sit around, you'd have a big meeting with films and charts everywhere. Most Friday mornings, unless there was a problem, most Friday mornings, Bob Paisley would stick his head around the door and go, same team, same sub. There was one sub back then. So that was all Bob's team meeting was on a Friday morning. If they needed tweaking something to get across, Bob would come in and speak for 10 or 15 minutes. Again, we wouldn't have had a frigging clue what he was saying, but he spoke for 10 or 15 minutes. And that was basically, this is the team, that's the sub. Go out, and if you win the game again, you stayed more or less the same the next week.
I would imagine, being a young player on that team, you could just play your game. You're not having to carry the team. You don't have a lot of responsibilities. You can really concentrate on your own game.
Yeah, my game was down up side, that left-hand side, hold your position. Alan Kennedy runs away wherever Alan used to run. I was sitting there waiting for him to get back in. Be on the back post. If the ball was on the right, be on the back post, try and come in around. Rushy's job was to score goals. If he was doing that, he was okay. If I'm doing the job on the left side of midfield, I'm okay. And there was times when I was getting a lot of stick from a section of the crowd, probably second season. But I always had it in my head that if the manager is playing me week in, week out, I must be doing something right. I must be doing the job he wants me to do. So despite of all the flack I was getting from the Kemlyn Road stand, I always was, well, I must be doing something all right for the team.
Is it?
Oh, I was going to say, what were some of the things they were shouting at you?
Honestly, true story. Game on a Saturday at Anfield. We're kicking into the cop end, actually. I'm standing in front of the Kemlyn, and next thing a lad screams, "Friggin' hell, Whelan, get in the game, will you?" And I turned round, and Graham Souness and Terry Mack were just inside me. The two of them were on the ground laughing. This fella's shouting at me to get in the game, and we hadn't kicked off. We hadn't started the game. And we were just laughing because that was what I was getting week in, week out from this. I don't know how many of them there was. But there was only probably 5 or 6 mates who just took it that Whelan's crap. Let's get on his back every week. It's funny when fans think, oh, the crowd don't shout at you, do they? Try and stand in that position some Saturdays and which would have been equally as bad over the far side, standing alongside Ronnie Moran, because he'd friggin' slaughter you anyway as well. So, first half, second half, I was getting it always.
Yeah, but you proved them wrong, didn't you? That's the
probably the same fellas said, I always said he'd be better if he went in centre midfield.
I guarantee that fella is probably still at Anfield shouting at other people. He's like
he's probably still shouting "Whelan, get in the game."
It's like the old fella, at the pub that's always there on the same chair, all the time, just
that's my chair,
moaning about everything.
Yeah, it was a bit like that, to be fair.
So, if the listeners didn't know already, Ronnie played for Liverpool from 81 to 94, 493 appearances. That's madness. And
Friggin' Roy Evans got rid of me just before me 500.
Bastard.
Never forgive him.
And 73 goals in all competitions.
73, yeah.
That's amazing.
More than John Aldrich, more than Davy Fairclough.
Yeah. More than Ray Clemens.
All day, yeah. I scored 2 or 3 against him, so that's...
when he played for Spurs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's talking about his own goal. Yeah.
No, that's not been mentioned yet, the own goal. That was another one I always said I wanted to score for Man United, so I had to get it out of the way.
Yeah, but you scored against Liverpool as a Man United player when you were on the reserve team, didn't you?
As you say, when I was there as a associate schoolboy forms, I think you had to sign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
And we beat them 5-2. Man United beat Liverpool 5-2 at the Cliff, the old training ground at Man United, and I scored a goal. Very good. Well done.
Thank you. Can't let you forget that part.
No, that's part of the career.
Yeah, one of the obviously so many honors, but one of the honors you got to win the European Cup in Rome. Can you tell us about your experience and maybe share a story or two about that?
It was all magnificent. Everything's great about winning the league and winning the FA Cup. I hadn't won the FA Cup. Winning the League Cup 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get to a Champions League final, as it is now, European Cup final back then, it was just a whole new sphere. Playing in Europe was a whole different thing than playing league games week in, week out. The difference when you had to go away from home, that you cannot let the crowd get on your back. You have got to quieten the crowd down. All different ways. But once we got to the final, there's police escorts when you get off the plane. There's everybody's looking after you. But then to do it as we did it, and I don't ever believe that we got the plaudits that we should have got for winning the European Cup in Rome in '84 against Roma. Their home ground. I think it was 3/4 of the ground were Roma fans. Mm-hmm. I think that probably the only reason we didn't get as many plaudits was because we won it on penalties. If we had won it normal time, but we won it, and it was just a great experience of, again, how to go about it. Because in the tunnel before the game, and it's well documented with Liverpool people, but we started singing a Chris Rea song called "I Don't Know What It Is, But I Love It," and now I don't know what affected. The Roma players were walking alongside us into the tunnel. We'd been waiting there a little bit. They left us there a little bit longer. And it came from Davy Hodgson and Craig Johnson, 2 Geordies who played for Sunderland or Middlesbrough. And they started singing. It went all the way down the line of the Liverpool team. And as the Roma players were walking along, people say, it had an effect on the Roma players. They must have listened. I don't think it had any effect on, because they had a brilliant team. World Cup winners and everything were in the team. And I think it had more of an effect on us, that it got us together. We're all in this together. It doesn't matter whether we're in Rome, playing Rome on their own ground. We're together. We're as good as anybody. And for me, it just got us all together. And we went out as a team, as all the subs. We're all part of this. And we won it in the end. We've done really, really well to win it.
Yeah, playing at in your opponent's home stadium can be fun. There's, I guess a lot of people probably don't know that, there was a lot of controversy over Roma's victory in the semifinals, paying off the refs and things like that. So, I mean, you're going into this hostile environment. And
was it Dundee or Dundee United?
Yeah, Dundee United, yeah. So, back then there was a lot of corruption, in Italian football. And it
you came away from a few games in Europe when you'd played, thinking what's gone on.
Right.
And they were in that era. They were very crafty. The Italians. There was a lot of shirt pulling, hair pulling. There was a lot of spitting going on back then in the early 80s as well, which wasn't nice. But they were very. They'd do things. They'd pinch you, and then you'd go to hit them. They'd fall down. Players getting sent off because of that. They had a lot of tricks, to put it mildly, in their book.
Was there a vast difference in the way that they played their football on the continent versus how style in England?
They wanted to slow everything down. They wanted to keep the ball. They wanted to get passes. English teams were more get it down, get it up to the forward, then push you up, close them in. The Italians like to keep it and keep it and keep it, and then get into positions. You know what? You even look at it now, a bit like Man City now, Liverpool when they're playing well. A lot of possession, then they try and get into areas, get crosses into the box. They were more skilled at keeping the ball than we felt. We kept it fairly well, but the foreign teams were a little bit ahead of us keeping it that way.
I think, the integration of the European and South American players into the English game, as finally it's reaping the benefits at the top level of English football right now. It seems like that style.
When the likes of Overmars and Bergkamp and Vieira and all these are at Arsenal, brilliant to watch. Henry, a little bit before that, early 90s for me, there was an awful lot of bad European players coming in. That it was cheaper, you see. So you go abroad, go to the backs of Hungary or Poland or something, find a player, bring him in. He's a very good player. It's only going to cost us this. And they weren't that good. But then when the team started going out and picking from the top ones, as I say, Vieira, Petit, Bergkamp, these sort of players coming in, Cantona, there was some extremely good players, and they have got better over time.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of maybe when John Barnes came to Liverpool, right? That was kind of a different type of player than a lot of the league had been used to. And it changed the way that you were able to play in your positioning. I think your position changed when Barnes came on too, right?
Yes, when Barnes came, a lot of people said that was me finished on the left side of midfield, but I went centre midfield and played the best football I'd played in my career from the centre. I was more involved. I loved every minute of it. I wanted to play there. Delighted I didn't have to hold that wing position all the time. I was more of the holding midfielder. If Macca was playing, Steve McMahon, if he was playing alongside me, he'd get forward and I would sit in there. A bit like your modern day Fabinho, or not Fabinho. Yeah, Fabinho would be, or Fernandinho at Man City, that sort of a player.
Your boots were probably a lot cleaner. You wouldn't have to hug that touch line all the time.
Yeah, the white, get the white off my boots. And I didn't have to listen to that fella either shouting at me.
The furthest away you were from the manager, the better.
Yeah. I'm right in the middle. I'm not moving.
I guarantee you was shouting louder.
Yeah, he had a big halo thing.
I actually wanted to go back to that Chris Rea song because there is a great book written by Tony Evans called I Don't Know What It Is, But I Love It, the Liverpool Unforgettable 83-84 season. And I'm going to read a little excerpt from it, Ronnie, because I want to know the story a bit behind it, because you must have had a great night. Liverpool were in town. The men had been singing pop songs and banging on the tables, chanting the words, I don't know what it is, but I love it. Now they were moving on to a drinking game. Suddenly it kicked off. A scuffle started. Punches were thrown. Word spread rapidly. There's trouble in the square. The news reached the Liverpool team hotel. One of the club's directors, Sid Moss, was angry. Lock them up, he shouted. Like most people in the boardrooms at the game, he was sick of hooligans. He headed to the entrance to see what was happening. Don't call for the police, someone told him. It's not the fans, it's the players.
It's true. It's a true story. learned from Brian Clough, Liverpool, what they did at Notts Forest when they got to European Cup final. Notts Forest at the end of the season went away for a week, and they didn't play any ball. We did play a bit of ball, but we went to Tel Aviv. I think we played a game, but it was more a downtime. It was more to relax and just take your mind. The season's gone. You've won the league. You've won the League Cup. Have a little relax, and we relaxed basically. But there was a big square in Tel Aviv, in the middle of Tel Aviv, all the bars with the seats outside, chairs outside, and we were playing a game called Fizz Buzz, where you say a number or a multiple of that number, and then you had to go down the table. If you got it wrong, it was horrible red wine. You'd have to sort of drink a glass of that. And then Rushy got caught yet again, because Rushy was always getting caught on it because he couldn't count to 7. And then he sort of drank the wine and leaned forward and didn't stop and landed on his nose on the ground. And I think it was Davy Hodgson thought someone had pushed him. So then all the lads, they were drunk. Nobody was hurt. And they were just pushing and shoving, and that's when Mossy. But there was another further story that when Mr. Moss was walking towards the square, David Hodgson and Rushy were walking on the way back, and the two of them, one Hodgie had fell over or something, and the two of them were sort of on the ground trying to get up. And Rushy was saying David Hodgson then started grabbing Mr. Moss's leg as he was walking towards him, and he was shouting, "Yahweh, Mossy, old bugger man, you old bugger man," climbing up his leg. And then you go and win the European Cup. Just ridiculous, but it was great for us. It was a downtime. We had a week, 10 days, just chilled out, drank, had a laugh, and then we went and won it.
Yeah, I love those old.
But it is a true story, yes.
Yeah, I love all those old stories. Because this day and age, you probably won't hear about like the players of today doing stuff like that.
I think the nearest I've seen at any stage with footballers was when the Liverpool squad were in Dubai and they were doing the thing on the escalator. Remember the Toure, yeah. That was the only thing I'd ever seen, and they looked as if they'd had a fair few drinks as well.
Yeah.
But, no, you don't see that happening now.
You know what? I remember that video, and I was pissed about it because that was right after we lost 6-1 to Stoke, and in Gerrard's last game. And I'm like, well, how are they partying the day after? So but yeah, I guess you have to just keep everything in context. And you are in Dubai on a free trip, so I guess you have to.
I think it's the context thing. Yeah. See, footballers play a game; they do the best, they want to win. If they lose, especially if I was there, in my point of view, if I lost 6-1, I'd be very wary of what I put on social media or where I went after that. If we lost, I had a pub in Liverpool, I would go back to the pub, have a few pints, go home. And I don't know why I'd go back to the pub. It was my pub with my brother-in-law, and then I'd just get sick when I went to the pub for losing the game. So the context is that footballers can then get rid of it. Yeah. It's gone. I know us now being a fan, I feel today like supporters feel because of what's going on at Liverpool, what happened when they got beat at home by Fulham. So that stays with a supporter. A footballer can't keep it in. He's got to that's gone, and let me go train and I'll get on with the next one.
Well, I mean, they were smart. They didn't come back to Liverpool after the game. They went straight to Dubai.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though. A lot of fans start going. When they after a loss, the next day they'll have some pictures taken of them, and then fans will go, "Why are they all smiling?" I mean, but they're human beings. What are they supposed to do? Just be like down and everything. You've got to pick yourself up and go again. Yeah,
but they're not picking themselves up too good at the moment. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, they're still on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting knocked back after knockback, and the whole thing. It's not great what's happening, but it should be better.
Yeah, you mentioned social media, and sometimes we talk about the negative things, but some of the positive is that this generation has been able to learn more about the past generations. It seems like, especially with winning the Champions League recently in the league, now you kind of have this common thread to the older guard, and now everybody's going back and we have these podcasts, and people are writing books. We've been able to learn more about Bill Shankly, Bob Paisley. And so that's been such a great benefit to teach a lot of these younger fans about the history of Liverpool, which
the younger fans in America and China or wherever, the wider world, you get a lot of the fans in England who really know Liverpool if they're a Liverpool fan, but it took a while to spread all the way to Texas. And even when I was over there with you, they didn't know everything, but now, as you're saying, with books and videos, if they know more now than I ever would have known about Liverpool or ever will know about Liverpool, because I'm a Liverpool fan. I'm going to study it. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to see it. Yeah, so it's changed big time.
They probably know more about you than yourself.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of that goes on, Daz. You know what? Sometimes you're out somewhere and they go, remember that goal you scored? And I go, well, no, I don't really. And they go, but I was there. I was behind at night. So, yeah, they do remember a lot of things more than I do.
Well, they got to ask that question before the second pint. That's fine.
Yeah.
It would have been funny if one of those lads was like, remember me? I'm the one that was screaming at you on the side of the pitch.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to forget about him, Dad.
Go on, Steve.
Sorry, man. Hey, Hey, Ronnie, I know that you won the 3 FA Cups, and I would imagine that the first one against Everton after Hillsborough had to have been something special for you and the team.
Yeah, that was probably the hardest game I ever played against me. There was so much riding on it. The emotion of Hillsborough, all the fans mixed going the game. It was you're going into it and you're praying and you're hoping I can't lose this game. And then we're winning, and then McCall scores late on in the game, and then you think, oh no, here we go. Luckily, we had a lot of players of the same mind as me at the time that we could not lose this game. We just kept going. It was hard. It was really, really hard. And the whole thing of that, winning the cup final, we go back to Arsenal when we lost the league then after it. Oh, sorry, that 89, Arsenal when we lost the league. Players were just physically and emotionally drained completely. The John Barnes, people blame Barnes for not getting the ball in the corner against Arsenal. John Barnes, if he wasn't so tired and drained emotionally and physically again, would have brought that there. But players weren't thinking properly. We couldn't, your legs wouldn't move like you wanted them to. It just been so tough. People say you're a professional footballer, you should be fit. So much went on that season that we just couldn't raise another gallop to get and win the league. But yeah, emotional, that cup final, yeah.
Yeah, I think some fans just don't understand, that the football players are human beings. So there is a lot going on that, and
well, this was unprecedented, Daz, wasn't it? We're going to funerals, we're at Anfield, we're trying to console mothers who've lost sons or brothers who've lost, and we're not counsellors. We weren't counsellors, but we went back and tried, did what we could. We all went to different funerals, so we'd have somebody at the funeral. And then we played 4 games in 7 days or something like that. And it was some ridiculous amount of games we had to fit in at the end because we took a break. And it just all got on top, and we couldn't see it through, unfortunately.
You mentioned all of the mental part of the game, especially that year. We've had people on our guests, ex-players, fans who are just now getting therapy from that year, 30 years on, right? And so I could imagine that even just being there and having to play every week after just had to take a mental toll by the end of the season.
But it's funny as well that I've never been in company of the players of that era and talked about Hillsborough. That doesn't ever come into our conversations, whether it's just that we want to just keep it hidden. We don't want to really talk about it. We know what happened. We did what we had to do. And then whether that's the reason, I don't know, but it's not something we all sit down and go, let's talk about Hillsborough.
Right.
It doesn't come into the conversation.
That's kind of akin to maybe like people in the military. You know, they come back from a war, and they're not going to sit around the barbecue pit and talk about talk about it, right? So imagine. Obviously, you know, you got the 6 leagues. You have one special one in your mind that's your favorite.
First one's always special. Yeah. First one's always special, and then the first and the last are probably the ones you remember. 1990, which was 30 years since they won it again. You know, 1990. I'm thinking we'll win it again in 91. We'll win it in 92. We'll win it in 93. And then things went a little bit awry at the football club in the early 90s, and then it took 30 years for a man called Klopp to come back and win it.
Yeah, you know, it took a special manager, and we had some other ones that weren't so special on the way.
A couple of them did get close. Brendan got a little bit close, and then, but for me, not having the experience of winning it before Brendan, they just couldn't get over the line. And I think a little bit with Hooley and Benitez, maybe they just didn't have enough to finish it off. Probably the squads were a little bit bare as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you're having to go up against a Mourinho at the end of the season, you know, who has the tactical analysis to grind results, you know, and you're just not adjusting, where you're going for a victory versus just getting a draw at home and things like that. So I mean, a lot of things have to happen, right? So
there was also a lot of an awful lot of times where the scenario changed because big money was coming into different football clubs. Liverpool at that time were not really, yes, they were spending, but they weren't spending on the way Chelsea were spending, especially. So that was another reason. But then again, Liverpool are now under Klopp financially. The way he's sold players and brought players in, he's kept it fairly steady. And he's been able to go on and win the league because he had the experience, didn't he, at Dortmund? How you get to a Champions League final, how you win a league. So the experience of Klopp and his man management has helped, and is why we've won what we've won lately.
You know, speaking of management, you know, a lot of people don't remember that you went into management. You know, you went over to Greece and to Cyprus. Tell us a little bit about your decision to not just go into management, but also go to a foreign country and start coaching there. I went out when I finished at Liverpool. I went down to Southend just to see a couple more years out. I was 32, 33, and I thought I'd take me up to 35, and then I'll see what's going on. But when I was at Southend, I took me a coaching badge. Thought I wouldn't mind going into coaching management. Got the manager's job at Southend. That went a little bit stale in the end. So I was back home doing nothing. And I got a phone call from an ex-Manchester United centre-forward called Scott McGarvey. Big blonde-haired centre-forward he was. And he was an agent at the time. And he said, a team called Panionios in Greece are looking for a new manager. They're playing in the cup final against Panathinaikos next Wednesday or whatever. He said, would you be interested? And I said, well, I want to get back into football. So I said, yeah, I'd be interested. I went out to watch the game, Panionios, Panathinaikos. Panionios won the cup final. They're now into Europe in the Cup Winners' Cup. That swayed my mind also. I'll go out there, play in Europe, maybe just get myself noticed around and see how that went. Got to the quarter-final of the European Cup Winners' Cup. They didn't do a bad job out there. But they wanted to go a different way in the end. A new chairman comes in, and so there was all that. Then I went to Cyprus, same thing again. We're doing okay. A new chairman come in, and then I was on my way. And then I just had enough. It was like, I can't, you know, you're doing a half-decent job. You're getting these teams to Europe, and then you just sort of get pushed out. So, yeah, that was me then. I had me little go at it. I tried, but it wasn't for me in the end.
Ah, well.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, you got to try it first, you know. That's what they say.
Yeah, you got to stay away from the beaches in Greece, you know, you'd be all right.
The good part about Cyprus and Greece, Cyprus especially, was, you know, you do have the beaches and the sun all the time. Now and again, it's extremely hot, but there was golf out there as well. So, Yeah,
probably had your best tan at that time too.
But I'm Irish. I said, Steve, look, I do not go brown.
I was just about to say, an Irishman in the sun.
It's just pink. No, an Irishman stays in the bar when the sun's out.
That's right.
So, Ronnie, how long does it take, to dust off your medals every day?
I know, yeah. I've got a nice little place. Now, they were in the bank for years, my medals, because of when I went abroad. I wasn't staying in the house, but now I've got them. I've got them back out of the bank, and now I've got them in a nice little place where I keep them, and I'm happy with them there. People say, "Would you ever sell them?" I don't think I'd ever sell the medals. Got a couple of nice little bits of memorabilia. I've got the 89 cup final ball against Everton, because you're captain. The winning captain gets the ball. Charity Shield against Wimbledon, I got the ball because Wembley again. Mm-hmm. And I've also got the little hat-trick ball. I got a hat-trick against Coventry and kept the ball as well. So yeah, there's little ones. I wouldn't say they mean more, but there's a lot of players with European Cup medals, and there's a lot of players with League Cup winners medals and league medals. But there's not many players with the ball from the 1989 FA Cup final.
That's right. At least one, right?
I mean,
that's it.
If some of the viewers don't know already, 6 league titles, 1 European Cup, 3 League Cups, and 2 FA Cups. I mean, what a career!
It's great looking back on it. Me as a player, honestly, I always found I've got a job. This is my job. I've got a job to do when I play football. Great winning teams, great set of lads. Winning the medals was, for me, secondary to having the fun and the laughter every day with the players I was with. It's great to get something at the end of the season. But then again, Ronnie Whelan or Roy Evans or Joe Fagan or whoever would come up and they'd have a little box and they'd go like that with the box and there's your medal, come back for pre-season and do it again next year. And that, it's a mentality, a lot of that. Maybe that little bit of mentality hasn't come into Liverpool this season because they should have, your medal, well done, put it away in a box, put it away in a drawer, and then come back and win another one.
And don't forget 2 World Cups that you appeared in.
The thing is, I played the Euros in '88, 2 World Cups. It's something that you always wanted. You go on to win FA Cups, you go on to win the League Championships, you go and win European Cup. Now you have to start looking internationally, what can we do? And I, with Ireland at the start, thought, well, we're not really good enough that we're ever going to get to a Euros or a World Cup. And then Jack Charlton come along, made us play a different way of football, which was completely foreign to me. Mm-hmm. I, at Liverpool, was brought up that we always keep the ball. We don't give it away, we keep it. Jack's idea of football was kick it into the corner, over the back of the fullback's head, and then we'll go up there and try and win it up there. Giving it back to the opposition, which then when you come up against top opposition, like we did in '88 against Holland, they'll keep the ball for fun. Once you give it back to them, we don't get a kick, we get tired, they score late on, and we're knocked out of the Euros. But to do that, to get to a Euros and 2 World Cups, brilliant.
Yeah, you have any stories on the World Cup experience with the Irish lads?
The bad experience I had in Italy, because I broke my foot just before it, and I tore a muscle in my thigh when we were out there doing warm-up training. So Italy, I was in the team just before we went to Italy. I was in the Ireland team. I played nearly all the qualifiers. And the injuries, Jack said I wasn't fit. So that went, didn't enjoy it. Come on for 20 minutes against Holland, I think. That was it. But I went to America with the mentality that I'm just going here. I won't be in the team because I didn't play a lot of the qualifiers. I won't be in the team. I'm part of the squad. I'm 32 years of age. I'm going to go and just enjoy this. And I enjoyed every minute of it. The pitches were perfect pitches. I'd never played on pitches like that in my life. I was fit. I was flying around. I was loving training. And then I come back after that, after feeling real good. And then that was when, see, with all the ups and downs in football, Roy Evans calls me in and said they'd offer you a contract, but they're taking the contract away now, so you're free to go. So all the ups and downs, having a good World Cup, enjoyed it all, and then had to leave Liverpool when I came back.
The World Cup is coming back to the States in 2026. So hopefully you can come over and Yeah,
I'll
it'd
do
be
my
a
best
party.
to get. It'd be great, won't it?
Yeah, can't
Well,
wait.
I know England, the UK is going in for 2030, so hopefully that happens as well. But I also wanted to ask, injuries are part of the game, and you had quite a few injuries at Liverpool. You had that 7-month one that you were out for. Now you've got sports psychologists and everything to take care of you, to talk to you. Back then, obviously, there wasn't somebody you could actually go to.
No, and you would have more arguments with your spouse because
you're always home.
But you weren't. I know, but you weren't training every day because you couldn't. You weren't going to matches because you couldn't. The team would go away on a Friday. As you said, 7 months early on. That was in the start of the 83-84 season, I think, Daz.
Mm-hmm.
But my pelvis had tilted and it wouldn't right itself. So I was out and they were saying, okay, you've got to rest, you've got to wait, it'll come back. And it just wasn't coming back together. And at that time, I thought my career's over. I'm 22 years of age and my career's more or less, it's going to end. So you do have a beer more than you would have had if you were playing. And then you go out and you have a few more beers, you come home, you're moaning with your missus. Now, maybe a sports psychologist would have sort of got me around to not thinking about going for a drink as much, thinking about doing something else because you just, it's time on your hand. As a footballer, you've got loads of time on your hand anyway. But when you're not training and playing, you've just got nothing to do. Mm-hmm. So that's a bit like now, actually. So it's just every day was the same treatment, wait around, treatment in the afternoon, home. What do I do now? Sit around, can't do anything. But it was a frightening little 7 months that because I thought my career was ended at 22 because there'd been a lad called Mike Pedgick. Remember Mike Pedgick? I think he played for Everton as well. But he had a pelvic injury that put him out of the game. That was always in the back of my mind. But luckily, it healed up in the end. I got an operation on my groins, which released some tension, and then it righted itself. And I think I've only once since then had problems with my pelvis. So I was glad to get out of that one.
Yeah, that's
well, luckily it's all healed because
I still get the old man pains around my hips and my groins and that, but I always seem to remember that I could hardly kick a ball with my left leg late on in my career. And I'm sure I had a tear in the muscle in the inside of the top of your leg called the adductor muscle. Mm-hmm. And I remember they'd done some scan on it. And basically all they said was, there's a bit of bleeding there. And that was my physio. But I was so weak trying to hit things with my left foot because of that muscle that I basically carried on with that for probably the last 2 years of my career.
Is that the excuse you use when you and Gary play golf?
Oh, you should see him now. He can't walk. His hips gone, his knee is gone. He's saying that's bad and this is sore. And I just try to stay close to him till I get to 15 or 16 because he can't swing anymore when he gets to 15 or 16. So I try to stay in the game and then beat him. But it's easy money.
Yeah. Well, usually when I'm playing, I'm the fifth beer. I'm starting to hit by then.
I know, yeah. But actually, that's American golf. Steve.
Yeah.
The weather's nice. You're on a nice buggy, little bit of a breeze coming in, a nice Bud Light. See, can't beat it.
Dazzle, when we played golf, we came all the way to the 18th hole and it was tied and we won by one shot. I think that was the only shot they used of mine. The whole round was the last one.
That happens.
It'd be funny to get Ronnie and Gary to play foot golf.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, I've tried that with a grandson. Don't like it. I can't kick the ball.
Too much
60 yards.
Yeah, I played that recently with my son and his mate. I coached them and they're 12 years old, 13. They just know how to play that game where you're trying to, as an adult, think, you just want to kick it as far as possible. Yeah. They just tap it and they're rolling it all the way to the hole. Like, man, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
We heard your wife is the best golfer anyway. So
no, she's not got me. I'm off 10. She's off 11.
Oh, nice.
She goes lower than me, and I go back the other way higher than her. I'm hacking it in.
But you got to stay off the women's tees.
That will be next. But she does beat me a fair few times, to be fair.
What are some of your favourite goals you've scored? For Liverpool and for Republic of Ireland as well.
I only scored 3 for Ireland.
Yeah, I know. So one of them must have been good.
One of them was all right in the Euros against Russia, overhead kick from 20 yards. That was all right. The best one from memory, because it's a cup final against Man United in '83, and I bent it in past Gary Bailey. But I thought my best goal that I scored was again against Man United, but it was in the semi-final of the FA Cup at Goodison, where I played me, Phil Neal, Sammy Lay, ball, so bent it in again. Gary Bailey. We used to do that sort of thing in training, play a ball in, someone comes to it, stops it, next man comes and hits it. And it was more or less that way when Sammy passed it to me. I've seen Phil Neal there. Now, the thing about this is when you play with good footballers, you can do this. Mm-hmm. I pinged it into Phil Neal 20 yards, 25 yards out. And I said, just stop it for me. And because he's a great player, Phil Neal, the ball has stopped right where I want it. And now it all opens up for me then. I can see the whole thing. And I decided I'd try and bend it in the top. Luckily, that went in. But, sometimes when you play with lesser players, you say stop it, and then they'll hit it back and it'll hit you in the neck or something like that. But with good players, and I was playing with the best players. My dad always said, you'll become a better player when you play with better players.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And when I started playing with the likes of Dalglish, Souness, they see you all the time. And a lot of times you got into trouble. Me and Rushy got into trouble because Kenny would be looking that way and you wouldn't move over there. And he would he'd spin a pass around that way that you're thinking, how did he even know I was over there? But great players do. So you have to be on your toes all the time because even if they're not looking where you are, they'll find you. And Kenny had to say that to Rushy. He said, you just make the run, I'll find you. And Rushy said, I just made runs then, and then the ball would be in front of me. So that's what the difference of playing with lesser players and top players.
We mentioned it kind of briefly earlier, your own goal against Bruce Grobbelaar. We know he's a crazy dude anyway. So is there any stick to this day still about that?
Well, he still claims he let it in because he was letting me score for Man United. And I could say, well, I did always. We won the game, right? So it's easy to talk about. Right. So I just always claim I always wanted to score in the Stretford end, which I did.
And
that gets it all over.
Yeah, we're thinking we need him to come back and urinate on the goalpost again and get that curse.
I don't know where. I don't know where he gets them from, Bruce. Because I can't ever remember seeing him urinate on the goalpost. Get rid of the demons.
He's got some demons, all right.
Yeah, true.
Who are some of the toughest players that you've played against?
Jimmy Case. Jimmy Case was the only really one I've ever had any. We were good friends. Me and Jimmy, we have a pint together, no problem at all. But he was a hard man, Jimmy. His legs were like tree trunks. He was solid. He's even when you see him now and he's into his 60s, he's still solid. But you have to be very wary of Jimmy on the football pitch because he knew how to do people. He knew how to hurt you.
Yeah.
Best one I played with was Suey. Mm-hmm. Suey could look after himself as well. I learned a lot from the likes of Souness, and really, I could look after myself okay, but when you start looking at them, how other players do it to look after themselves, the timing of a tackle, you're just a split second late. It's getting the timing right that you don't hurt yourself, but you don't get hurt at all.
Yeah.
So I learned Suey was tough as nails, as was Jimmy Case. Other than that, and I played with the two of them, but only played against Jimmy.
Yeah, Gary Gillespie said the same thing. He said Jimmy Case right away too. So that had to have been a well-earned reputation for him.
We played in a veterans game I don't know whether it was Denmark. I think it was Denmark. And one of the Laudrup brothers tried to play. This is only a veterans game. And the Laudrup, I don't remember which one it was, tried to play a 1-2 around Jimmy. But when he laid it off and went to run, Jimmy just stood there and went like that with his elbow and smacked him in the face. Just what Jimmy did.
Oh, it's been exciting to kind of relive some of the memories. I don't really remember a lot of the actual night that you were here in Austin. Trying to
neither do I. I'm not alone.
Right, trying to coordinate all the things from the supporters club standpoint, and having a few bevvies before that. But so it's always fun to listen to the stories, and now that the team has achieved some of some of the glamour back. It's always great to bridge the generations, and like we mentioned earlier on other podcasts, having the guests from that era to come back and talk, and because you're on some of the great teams of Liverpool, and now trying to equate it to Klopp's team when they won 4 trophies in one season. It has to be nice for you guys too to
but it's great for the younger Liverpool supporters, isn't it? For me, the younger Liverpool supporters who've grown up with nothing really coming in, now they're experiencing what their dads or their granddads did back in the 80s, the 70s, late 70s, 80s, little bit in the 90s, but they're experiencing it now, and they will go on and tell their grandkids and kids, which is great, that there's some more very, very good success come back to the football club.
I'll just have to wait. Hope that it's not another 30 years for
don't say that, Steve. We won't be here anyway, but I won't. No.
I'll be retired in Liverpool by then.
Oh yeah.
You'll be that old fart in the pub at the end of the bar moaning.
In my day.
Yeah.
In my day, yeah. As long as the pint glass will be about this big, so.
Great.
Yeah. So what are you up to now, Ronnie? I know you after managing, you went into TV, so.
Yeah, still doing the TV with Irish RTE in Ireland. Obviously not at the moment, but as not many are. But we've got the rights for Champions League and international matches. So co-coms on that, doing a bit for Liverpool TV also, with co-coms and some studio. So it is a bit of a relief to be doing some Liverpool TV stuff at the moment, just to breaks the momentum.
Right.
And breaks the boredom, should I say. So, yeah, Gary was on there, Jason's on there, Aldo. So I see a couple of them when we go in now and again. Social distancing, everything's proper. So, yeah, it just breaks the whole week up.
You guys get to take the piss out of Jason McAteer.
Still, yeah, it's always poor old Jason. He brings it on himself. He's done enough stupid things in his life, Jason.
Well, I mean, you just have to look at his Twitter account.
Yeah, I know.
It's funny because I've been fortunate enough to play in a couple of the Legends matches over there in Liverpool, and it's funny even during those games, the older players take the piss out of Jason, so it's fun.
Yeah, it's always Jason. But as I say, he doesn't do himself any favors. He always does something stupid.
Yeah, he wants to come over to Austin when everything opens up. I'm like, man, you may not leave.
I know, yeah.
Oh man, good times. So, for what would your what would you like your legacy, to be like?
I remember my dad. I came in from playing a match as a kid. He couldn't make it. He was in the house when I come back in, and he said, "How did you play?" And I said, "It wasn't great." So it was okay. It wasn't great. And he said to me, "Did you give 100% of everything you had?" And I went, "Well, yeah, I did." And he said, "Well, that'll do me." He said, nobody can ever say anything against you then." And it always stuck with me. And I'd like to be remembered for someone that went every time I went on the pitch with Liverpool. He was one that gave 100% every time he went out on the pitch. He was one that went into tackles that a lot of people wouldn't go into. And he was one who scored a couple of goals here and there that were good, but more to be remembered as someone who cared, who gave 100% every week.
I'd imagine your dad was very proud when you made the national team, since he had been on the national team.
Yeah, it's, you know, when I look back on it, I do think about my mum and dad and think how proud they must have been. It must have been horrible for my mum, really. My dad knew I wanted to go and play football, but my mum had a 17-year-old son leaving home. And it must have been she used to go out to the back when the games would be on television or radio or wherever Liverpool games would be on. She used to go into the back garden. She couldn't watch, she couldn't listen. She'd pray in the back garden. So, yeah, it must have been difficult for them going away. I had a new life to lead. That was all right. Yes, you get a bit homesick, but you meet new people. But they had lost a son. And, yeah, that must have been, I feel it must have been difficult on them. And I've always praised my dad. I lost my dad when he was 56, which is, you know, I'm 3 years older than that now. It's hard to imagine now what I was thinking. But he was the one who always told me the right things. You know, I look back on it, when to go. I remember one when I was going for a school disco, Friday night school disco. I'm 15. Oh, go upstairs, get ready, come downstairs, ready to go. He said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to school disco, and it's on 8 o'clock. And he just looked at me and he said, if you think going to the school disco will make you play better tomorrow, you go to the disco. And I went back upstairs and got ready for bed, get myself ready for the game. What he used to tell me was it always worked. I was glad he was there. He had a knowledge of the game as well.
I think it probably would make things a lot easier for you, knowing that he had the experience and had walked in your footsteps, you know, and so you're getting advice based on experience.
The whole thing of me being homesick when I went to Liverpool, my dad went to Chelsea at 18, so he had a knowledge of it. And he came back after 2 weeks homesick. He said, I couldn't stand it. He said, I'm just away from Dublin. I'm away from my family. That was the reason he wouldn't let me go at 15. And then when I got homesick, when I went away at 18, he said to me, you're coming home too often. Every chance I got, I'd get on a plane from Liverpool, only half an hour into Dublin. So I wouldn't want to go back to Liverpool then. I know I wanted to play football, but I didn't want to go back to Liverpool because I'm the family. And he said, okay, don't come back for 6 months. And I didn't go back to Dublin for 6 months. I stayed in Liverpool. And I got better and I got stronger. And then I started getting into reserves more often than the first team. So, yeah, everything that he told me, I would always listen to.
Yeah, that's kind of, there's very few people that have that, you know, that experience that having their parents have walked through things. And, you know, because we've talked to other players and that they left home early as well, but they didn't have that guidance. So they were kind of on their own. So I'm sure that it really brought some.
And there's still a lot of that going on. You know, lads come over and they're on their own. And I always found Sunday the most difficult day. And I've read an article recently where Packy Bonner, Irish goalkeeper, he always found Sunday the hardest day because Sunday was family in Ireland. You know, we'd eat together and we'd all go for a pint before pubs close at 2, house, dinner, all together. So I missed that a lot. And Packy said he missed that an awful lot as well. So, but nobody's there, like you say. Now the players, when they go to a football club, they will have somebody looking after them all the time. You know, there's this to do where you can come here, you can go there. That was, you know, for an 18-year-old, it's a strange environment. It's all new, and there should be a way of football club being able to, and I think there is now, look after the people that come to the club.
That's one of the dynamics that's kind of catch-22 for the American soccer player or football players. You know, they want to send them to Europe and you get experience at a young age, but then not everybody has that mentality or has the ecosystem at the club to take care of these young kids. Yeah.
And you know, you get an injury as well as a kid and you're away and you're not. That must be so much. But another problem I found back in when I was playing and a little bit later on is the kids, when they let go, they go back to Ireland and there's nothing. They've not got a team to go back to, a League of Ireland team. They're probably good enough. They may be disillusioned. They don't want to go back into it. They've got no job to go into. People don't see all this with football.
Yeah, it's something. It's you know, you talk about mentality as an adult player, excuse me, as a senior player getting injured and having to do that. But, you know, there's a lot of those issues at the youth levels too, for people, you know, if you're thinking you're going to go play professionally and then you don't make the grade, you know,
huge down.
Right.
Yeah, it's touch wood, it didn't happen to me, but it must be a huge, I don't know, you must feel, I would have felt that I'd let my family down, I'd failed, because I was the one people were talking about in Dublin. Whelan's going away, 17, going to Man United or Liverpool. Let's see what happens. Will he make it? If he doesn't make it, I always said he wasn't good enough, blah, blah, blah. That's what, it's the other side of football that people don't really see.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Ronnie,
really.
Yeah. Ronnie, you know, we appreciate your time. You know, I always said that, you know, was honored to have met you when you came to Austin and having to spend some time with you on the golf course and just listening to your stories. So just feel privileged that you're able to come on to the show and kind of share some stories.
Get that golf going again soon.
Yes, sir.
I'll have to get out.
Yeah, well,
there
you go. You have a spot at the pub waiting for you.
Yeah, that would be. That's get my stool ready.
That's right.
Yeah, as a Liverpool fan, I just want to say thank you for what you've brought. You know, many fans. I'm like I said, I'm very, very honoured. You know, you are a legend to me. I'm a 70s kid, so I grew up, you know, watching some amazing teams, and you were one of the standout players. Yeah, like Steve just said, I'm very, very privileged and very happy that you came on.
Thanks, that's not a problem whatsoever. Enjoyed it.
And hopefully we'll share a beer once all this crap goes away.
Daz, we'll share a beer or two.
Yeah, I don't play golf, but I'll stand there and drink.
You can carry the drinks.
Yeah. I'll do that, no problem.
Keep in touch, Daz, anyway.
Will do. Cheers.
Thanks, Daz. See you, Steve. All the best.
See you, Ronnie. Thank you.
Thank you.